Shane Morand is a master trainer, strategist, and world-class mentor. His track record includes building a company from the ground up to $1 billion in sales in under 5 years, transforming the lives of 2.2 million families across more than 50 countries. Shane is an author, an internationally awarded leader, and one of the world's most powerful communicators. His knowledge, energy, and vision inspire thousands to expand their financial reach. Shane Morand's contribution takes our growth to the next level and reinforces Aurum's position as a force shaping the future of finance.
All right, good morning, good afternoon. Hold on. Just bear with me just for a second, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to get started here in a second. All right, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're calling in from. This is Shane Morand. Let us see who is in the room. Where are you calling in from? Where are you dialing in from? If you're watching the replay on YouTube, put your country and where you're calling in from here. Go ahead and let us know where you're calling in from. All right, here we go. Who do we have? Oh my God, it's going so fast here. Hold on a second, guys. Okay, we got Mexico, France, India, UK, Barbados, Vancouver, Dubai, Guadalupe, Tampa, London, Kazakhstan, San Diego, Norway, Florida in the house, Houston. Welcome to the call. Mongolia again, Maryland, Argentina, Ireland, Brazil, Nigeria in the house. Welcome. We've got Germany, Singapore, Greece. Keep it going. We got, again, a lot of people from Mongolia calling in. Nepal in the house. South Africa, Atlanta, Germany. We have Italy, UK in the house. Budapest. Welcome to the call. Hungary, Hawaii. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for calling in here. This is the Mastery Call. Thank you so much, everyone, for calling in. And what I would highly recommend, we're going to get started in about a minute here. Just send out a quick text if you have leaders within your organization that are not on this call. And again, we'll give it about another 1 minute, and then we will get this started. Let's get going. Anybody fired up here? We had an amazing week last week. We got Raphael here. Oh, yeah, he put Raphael from Michigan. Welcome to the call. Raphael from Michigan, Detroit, Motor City. But we had a great week. I mean, it's just getting bigger, better, faster, stronger. And I just want to remind everyone here that's calling in here, the vision of Aurum. Sometimes we don't always go over it, but it's important that you understand the vision. It's easy, it's simple to duplicate. And remember, the vision of Aurum is to create 1,000 new millionaires that are not millionaires right now, right? So 1,000 new millionaires. We've already created several millionaires and many, many more coming. And it's very, very exciting. So, hey, if you'd like to volunteer to become one of Aurum's millionaires, just put your hand up now. I can see you. I'm looking right at you. Just put your hand up if you would like to become a volunteer, to become one of the next OG millionaires. Yeah, the original. Welcome. So everyone, welcome back. This is week 7. Grab a pen, grab a piece of paper. This is the Aurum Foundation Mastery Series. And, you know, in the last 6 weeks, we've built a super strong foundation. So if you haven't been participating, or maybe this is your first call, you can always find the replays from the first week right through to today on YouTube. So what normally happens is we go live every Monday. It is a live call. This is where all the energy is. And then within a couple of days, we post the replay in our playlist, the Mastery playlist. And where you can find it at, you put the @ symbol, Aurum_foundation on YouTube. So it's at Aurum_foundation on YouTube. And really, so what did we do in the last, let me just give you a quick recap in the last 6 weeks. This foundation, like we said, we're building a massive skyscraper. So the foundation goes very, very, very deep. And we certainly have built a very, very large foundation. And what do we talk about? We talked about how we invite every single day. It's called the daily invitation. That was in session number 1, week number 1. And then we went on to how to share your story and how to create value in a very, very short period of time for your customers and your partners. On week 3, we went into how to follow up properly with confidence. How do you follow up? What do you say? How do you do this with confidence? And then we created a weekly rhythm. And basically, that's the weekly method of operation. If you don't have your weekly method of operation set, and if you're not teaching your team a weekly method of operation, this is how we're going to create 1,000 millionaires, by taking the whole globe, no matter what language, no matter what country you live in, no matter what your culture is, and we can put together systems and simple methods of operation that everybody can duplicate, everybody can learn it quickly, everyone can teach it quickly, and everyone can teach to teach very, very quickly. And also in that same session, we talked about how to get people started properly. We also went on to cover how to turn customers into community. That was the week before. And then finally, last week on session number 6, we were talking about how to present Aurum with simplicity within a 60 to 90 second period. I hope you've had an opportunity from last week's call to this week to practice your introduction, your 60 to 90 second introduction, so that it's easy, it's simple, it doesn't change. Once you have it down, that's how you're introducing Aurum. So if your team, again, missed any of the previous episodes, you can write this down, at Aurum_foundation. Now, today, what we're talking about now is week number 7, and we're focused on a critical transition. This is it's really subtle, but with a small adjustment, it really can produce massive results for you. Really, really big results. And what we're talking about here is we're going to turn interest into action. All right. You might write this down. We want to turn interest into action, because interest alone is not going to build your business. After all, how many presentations have you done, or how many presentations have you sent, or how many times have you talked to people about the possibilities of Aurum and they say, man, that's interesting, right? Everybody says it's interesting. Who wouldn't be interested in a daily ROI every single day, right? So the interest is not going to build your business. Okay, what is going to build your business? It's the action. It's taking people from that interested, wow, this looks interesting, to taking action. All right. And so with that in mind, this week, what we're going to talk about is a success principle as well before we get started. And appropriately, we're talking about making a decision. Decisions. This is important. Napoleon Hill once wrote that successful people decide quickly, and then they change very slowly, while unsuccessful people decide slowly and they change quickly. Let me repeat that, all right, in case you didn't get that. What Napoleon Hill wrote, and he was accurate, is that successful people, they decide quickly. When they see something they like, they make a decision quickly, and then they change very, very slowly. Once they've made their decision, they change slowly. But unsuccessful people, you know who they are. They bounce around all over the place. What they do is they take a long time to make a decision, but then once they've made that decision, they can change it quickly, right? That's not going to work, right? So how long, for example, and just ask yourself this question, the first time that you were introduced to Aurum, how long did it take you to understand Aurum's potential? I'm not saying to master the whole ecosystem. I'm just saying from the standpoint of going to a presentation, and was it fast for you to say, this is really interesting? Not only is it interesting, but I'm going to start my test as soon as possible, right? That was me. All right. So, and then we started doing all of the due diligence behind as we were testing with very, very small deposits, right? And so I hope you can see this in a world right now. that we're living in right now, decision is powerful. Why is that? By learning how to make decisions, make a decision and move. Why? Because it creates, what does it create? Clarity. What does it create? It creates movement. Once you make a decision, you can move, and it creates momentum. And this is what we're looking for. So your role as a leader and as a partner is not to force the decision. Okay, that's not what we're talking about here. Your role is to help people make clear decisions. A yes or no is always better than a maybe. The person says maybe and forever, maybe and maybe and maybe. I'd rather have a yes, I want to get started, or a no, this is not for me, up front, rather than saying maybe and maybe and maybe, because they're taking a long time to make a decision. I love the way that Aurum has set up their introduction, that any person that is interested, for as little as $100 USD or 100 USDT or USDC plus an annual $19.99 fee, anybody can get started. Anybody can start their test on the XAI bot. And this is amazing. To me, I love the concept that Aurum is for everybody. It's not just for the technically advanced. It's not just for the marketing masters. It's for the people. And we're talking about today interest versus action, right? Interest. Can you feel the difference when you're interested in something and then when you take action? It's two different things, right? But many people, for example, and many prospects will watch a video. That's correct. They'll attend maybe a live Zoom. They'll listen to a presentation and they'll say something like that. Hey, that's really interesting, right? And then they do nothing. Does this sound familiar? How many, you can put your hands up again. How many have had people say, man, this is interesting, and then you never hear from them again? Yeah, I'm not the only one, right? Everybody goes through that, but I'm going to show, this is what I'm talking about. We're going to make a few small adjustments, and it's going to make a big difference in your business. So it's not because, for example, that they don't like it. Okay, it's not because they don't like it. That's not why this happens. Often it's because they're unsure, because after all, AI finance it's a brand new sector that's never been here before, but this is where all the money is. Imagine that AI finance is a sector of the marketplace that's not going to get any smaller in the next 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. It's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. So if they're unsure, they're going to hesitate. They're going to take a step back. If they're distracted, maybe they have things going on in their life and they're distracted by life, they're going to take a step back. Or if they're overwhelmed, maybe they went to a presentation and all of the technology and things are so new that they're overwhelmed. They're going to take a little bit of a step back. And if maybe they were never guided to a very clear and a very specific next step. All right. So again, when we're introducing someone, your 60 to 90 second, introduction that I hope you've practiced. I hope you've got this thing mastered. Once you do that, what's the next step? It's go watch a video or go watch a replay or join a Zoom or read the PDF, right? That's the next step. But what if the partner didn't tell them really what the next step is? They just don't know, right? And so that's where you come in. That's where our partners come in. Your job is really to make the next step clear and very simple. So always be thinking of what's the next step for this prospect? What's the next step for this potential customer or this potential partner? What is the next step? And make sure that you're clear to that person. What is that next step? And so in Aurum, the decision path can be very simple in 3 basic steps. Grab a pen, write this down, or type it into your computer, or whatever you're going to do. But this is the crux here. It's 3 steps, really. It's look, like, and decide, right? You might want to repeat that out loud. Look, like, and decide. So how does that work? Well, look, the first thing we're going to do, we talked about this before, we're going to get them to watch an intro or to attend a live Zoom or to watch a replay, right? That's the looking part. Once they've looked, we want to see if they liked it. So we're going to identify with that person, what did they like most, or what stood out the most in that presentation, in that formal presentation, not in our 60 to 90 second presentation. You know, the only reason that you're doing a 60 to 90 second presentation is that everybody can do it. Every country, every language can do that simple 60 to 90 second presentation, but then we want to point them to a replay. We want to point them to a live Zoom. And where do you get these live Zooms? The company, the corporate on the Telegram channel has always listing in many, many, many languages every week. And so there's the corporate. You can go into the Telegram group. You can see all the presentations in all the different languages. These are introductions. And also, if you go to your upline, who sponsored you and who sponsored them and who told them about it, eventually you're going to run into a leader, okay, that is doing either weekly presentations. Some are doing them every single day. And so you want to become aware of where these presentations are. Why? So you can attend yourself, even as a partner, and you can invite your guests. And then the third area is the decide. And that's when once they've looked and once they, evaluate what is it that I like most about here. And the next step is you want to get them to decide how they want to connect. Do they want to become a customer, or maybe they want to become a partner, or maybe not at this time, right? But I would like that answer, and you would like that answer pretty well up front after they've seen at least a nice presentation, a professional presentation where we go over the entire ecosystem and the compensation plan for those that like to become a partner and so on. Hope this is, again, making sense to you and that you're taking lots of notes here, because you don't have to have 20 options. This is a big fallacy. You don't have when we're talking about how to get started and what to do, it's not 20 options. It's a few. You just need a clear path and a clear explanation of this is your next step. Why? Because they don't know. If you're talking to a customer, they really don't know what their next step should be. If you don't tell them what is the next step, what is the next step? I mean, this small little adjustment, when we get to the conclusion, once we follow up and once we're talking to them, what do you like best? Can you see an opportunity here? Would you like to get started? If they say, yes, I'd like to get started, you can't just hang up and say, okay, great. You got to show them what is the next. Okay, you said you want to get started. Here's the next step, right? And so again, it's your responsibility to create a clear path to that prospect or to that potential customer or to that potential partner on what do they need to do next, because they just don't know. So here's some powerful questions, I guess, that you can ask after someone has seen, for example, a presentation, either a recording or a live Zoom. They're the two best. If you get them to a live Zoom, I think it's even better, but they got to show up on time. They got to stay for the whole thing, or you can send them a pre-recorded introduction. But once they've viewed that, okay, once they've taken the time to view and to take a look at what Aurum is all about, and we are moving very, very quickly here and expanding the ecosystem in a beautiful way. And I'm sure you were on the call, or some of you, you've all heard about what's happening within the Neuro particular division here. It's pretty exciting. But you can ask questions like, I was on a call on the weekend, and we had one of the leaders, and I was just listening in the background. I wanted to see how they're presenting and the questions that were coming up. But they said, they repeated, and they were teaching and they were training their organization on the question of what to say. And that is, what did you like most about what you saw when you follow up? What did you like most? What a beautiful question. What did you like most? It's you're not offending anybody. It's not a sales pitch. You're just asking them for their opinion on what they like most. You don't tell them what you liked the most, because in this case, you don't matter. They matter on what they saw. What did they like the most? And if they say, well, I liked the XAI bot, or what is that Nero, or you have gold at 30% discounts. Oh man, maybe they like that, or maybe they like the real estate, or maybe they like the exchange, right? And then, so once they tell you what they like the most, now and then you can just say, hey, look, can you see an opportunity for yourself? Can you see an opportunity for yourself? Right? How simple is that second question? They say, yeah, I can see an opportunity. I really think it's a great thing. And then, then your next question is going to be, do you see yourself more, for example, as a customer, or do you see yourself as a partner, or do you see yourself as both? Right? Write all this down, or go back and watch the replay. This is so important. These are small things that we can do, small little tweaks that's going to make a big difference in your results, right? And so so they say, okay, I would like to become, for example, let me start off by becoming a customer. And then you go, great. Would you like to get started? Here's the next step. All right, that's it. If they say yes, they want to get started, here's the next step. Click on this link, register for free. Maybe we're going to test the XAI bot, to get it started. That's the easiest, simple path. In my opinion, the simplest path for a brand new customer and a brand new partner getting started is to register for free right away and then get into that XAI bot, because it's the longest, it's what gave birth to the whole Aurum ecosystem and the AI finance ecosystem over 3 years ago was that XAI bot. And so we've got a proven track record of success. So you can be really comfortable by just saying, hey, start there. Because once they set up their XAI bot, it's 100% passive. It's 100% passive. So now, once they click that little button, it takes 5 minutes to set it up. Once they have their USDT in the account and they click and they're in, there's nothing for them to do. It's passive, right? And so now that it's passive, now we want them to start looking at the entire ecosystem. Hey, take a look and study the exchange and look at the gold and look at Narrow. There's Omni and there's Alpha. Right? We've got 2 bots. They're spectacular. And so we want them to now go look at all of the other parts of the ecosystem so they can make a decision on where they want to focus. Okay. And these questions that we're talking about that I just went over, they're really respectful, aren't they? When you say it, it's not a sales pitch. You're really being respectful to them. They're doing most of the talking, and it really invites a decision. Right? You're inviting them to make a decision. And that's what this call is all about, because of course they're going to be interested. You see what I'm saying? Of course they're going to be excited about it, but you want to invite them to make a decision by asking these questions, and you want to keep the conversation moving forward. Keep the conversation moving forward. And when you end your call, when you end your Zoom with this prospect, this customer, whether it's a partner or a customer, you always write this down. You want to tell them, hey, this is the next step. For you, this is the next step. This is the next step. All right. Hope this makes sense. Such a simple thing. But if you're thinking next step, you're enrolling, and your business, especially when you learn it and you apply it and you go, wow, this is really simple. It's easy. Now you start teaching it to your team, and watch what happens to the growth. Just by following, again, a simple outline. And for potential customers, let's say the person says, I want to become a customer. What you want to do is you want to focus on the value of that and the experience of the whole ecosystem for the customer, right? You might say something like, based on what you saw, do you feel ready to get started again as a customer and experience the Aurum ecosystem for yourself? Right? I recommend that you start off by testing the XAI bot and discover how this works. It's really simple. We can get you set up. Once you have your USDT or USDC on your dashboard, it takes less than 5 minutes to have you fully up and running, and you start to get your ROI within 24 hours, right? There's the customers going like, wow, that's exciting, right? Now they can see what's happened. You can say, would you like me to help you create your account? I can do it right now. I can help you create your account right now. It's free actually to set up your account. And then if you want to activate your platform, $19.99. Can you see how this is moving forward? And you can, and again, once you get them in there, you show them the basics of how this is the dashboard. Here's where your XAI bot is. You can show them how to set up their Telegram notification. You can show them how to put the auto redeposit on, right? These are simple things that you can teach them while they get set up. And so the goal and your focus is to make it easy for them to what? To say yes. You want to make it easy for them to say yes. There's no need to get into all the different algorithms and what they've put together and all the different bots and because it's going to overwhelm them, right? Now, when you're talking to someone that says, no, I'd rather become a partner, do you know how many people I know that are sick and tired of having their money sit in the bank doing absolutely nothing? Do you know how many people that I know who are sick and tired of dealing with the banks, right? And the limitations that the banks are putting on the people? It's amazing. It's happening all over the world. So what you want to do for the partners is you want to focus on the vision and the action, right? In this case, you might say something like, from what you've seen, do you see a way that you can build with Aurum as a partner, right? Just based on this, can you see it? And they say, yeah. Okay, would you like to start as a partner? So what we'll do is we'll plug you into the weekly rhythm, to the weekly method of operation. As soon as they become a partner, you want to plug them into the system. And that's why the episode on the weekly method of operation is so important to you, because it doesn't matter what day of the week that you're talking to this partner. It doesn't matter if you have your method of operation, that you know that on this night, there's this call. On this night, there's this call. On Monday, it's mastery. On here, we're going to talk about the comp plan. On this call, you got to have that method of operation outlined so that when you have a partner that's ready to go, you give them a clear focus on, here are the events, here are the links, and you step them through. Okay. Again, what are we talking about here? We're talking about making sure that you have a list of the live Zooms that you're building. That you have a list of the replays that you want to send to them. You want to make sure that you tell them about mastery, so they can go from week 1 right through to week 12 when we're finished, and they'll have a mastery in this beautiful industry that we call referral marketing, direct sales. And so again, you want to make sure, as well as when they're getting started, work with them as you're onboarding them, and put together a simple first, for example, 30-day game plan or a 90-day game plan with them. So say, look, in the first 30 days, this is what we're going to focus on. Imagine, like HP says often, just take a look at this, just check this out, right? And he talks about, if a brand new partner gets started, and for example, in their first 30 days, in their first month, they enroll, for example, 3 partners. Okay, 3 partners, and then they stop enrolling, and the next 30 days, all they do is they help those 3 partners do what they just did, which is enroll 3 partners. Okay, so in the second 30, and in the next 30 days, we work with them to teach their team how to help them enroll 3 partners, just like everybody else did, right? And if you continue this process of just 3, and then 3, and then 3, if you just continue that, you're over $1 million within 9 months. Okay, no, I can't make any claims. I can't make any, but if you do the math, if everyone's depositing an average of 1,000 USDT, example, some are going to do a lot more and some are going to do a lot less. But if it's an average of 1,000 and you're going 9 months of just 3 who help 3 who help 3, you're over $1 million. That is absolutely incredible. And we have partners now all over the world that have already exceeded those numbers in their first 9 months, which is not normal. Okay, I've been in this industry for many, many years. These numbers that our partners are producing, that are turning around, they're not normal. Ahmed Zen says it all the time. Show me another company. Show me anywhere in the world where a partner can come in and earn this kind of income. So, by doing the easy, simple things, right? It's just not available. So also what you want to do, and just remember, because the sector of AI finance is new, your goal is really to reduce their fear of the unknown, because it is all unknown to me. It's unknown to you. It's unknown. All we know is we're moving very, very quickly in the AI finance. We're running away in the sector with this. And sometimes what happens is, and your goal again is to reduce their fear, reduce their confusion. That's why we want to keep everything simple. You may have been here for 2 months or 3 months or 5 months or 9 months. So now you know, right? But you got to remember that brand new baby partner, they don't know. They're just brand new. They don't know. So they're going to have some fear. They're going to have a little bit of confusion. And again, the reason why at this point that people won't make that decision, even to do a test, is that they're afraid that they won't understand. once they get involved. They're afraid that it's too complicated. They're afraid that it's too technical, right? I'm not really an expert in this area. This is the fear that's coming up. If you know this, it'll help you keep everything real simple, right? Or they don't even know if they're going to be supported. So when you're enrolling a brand new partner or a customer, make sure you let them know you're here, you're going to support them. You have a little bit more experience that you can guide them through what you're doing and things like that. So your job is really your goal is to remove the fear, right? Because you know it's there, it's going to be there. And how do you do that? You can remind them that the system is so simple. You can keep on reminding them it's simple. It's simple. That's what we do. That's how we're growing. It's simple. He or she who creates their system that is the simplest is going to move the fastest. All right. And if you're sitting there on a 3-hour Zoom going through all the details and all the technicalities of how to put this whole thing together, good luck on that. It's not duplicatable. It's going to confuse people, but you really want to end up showing that brand new person that there's a support system in place with all of the calls, with all of the trainings, that they can, slowly start to become more and more used to the whole ecosystem over time, just like you did. Everybody goes through that same journey. And the main point is that we want to make sure we're telling them that, look, you're not alone. We're not going to leave you sitting there alone, because you're probably not going to figure this out. Right. And that's why the getting started process is so important, because it's not enough to give them your link and then they register and they're not going to do anything because of all of this fear. You've got to reach out to them and take them through, show them the back office, give them a little tour, let them know you're here. If you have any questions, you get the idea, right? All right. So you might say something like, you don't have to know everything. How about that? Isn't that powerful? If you're talking to a brand new person, say, listen, I want to be clear here. You don't have to know everything on day one. All right. It's brand new. The sector is exciting. AI finance is amazing. But we have live calls every single day of the week, pretty well. We have replays. We have a step-by-step approach to really help you get started correctly. Okay. Doesn't that sound a little bit better than just giving them a link and hopefully they'll do something, right? So you can also say that I'll be with you for your first steps. I'm going to stick with you for your first steps until we get you up and running. You don't have to figure everything out all by yourself. All right. And again, when people get started, let's say they want to become a partner, I'm going to give you a kind of a 4-step guideline. This is easy. It's simple, and everybody can duplicate in every language. But if you have a pen, piece of paper, or write this down, 4 steps. What are they? Number 1 is no resistance in a free registration, is there? Right? So step 1 is register for free. Okay, here's the link, register for free. There's no resistance. There's no, there's no objections to registering for free, especially if they're interested, right? If they're interested, a free registration is just so simple and it's smooth, right? That's how they can get started. Step number 2 then is you want them to test the XAI bot. You can go, and I like the saying, it says, you can test the XAI bot. You can start with 100, it's pretty good, but 1,000's even better. You can say something like that, right? But they can decide, what's comfortable for them to just do the beginning. They can do their initial test on the XAI bot. Step number 3 is once their XAI bot is set up properly, is set up and running, which takes, again, I said 5 minutes. You all know this. 5 minutes from the time they have their USDT or USDC, we can hook them up really, really quick. But step 3 is we want them to explore the entire ecosystem. We want them to take a look at everything, right, at their pace. When they want to, they can go into the back office and start looking at the documentation for the gold or for the new bots, these quantum bots that are coming out, both Alpha and Omni. Amazing. I think they're going to be impressed. But again, if we dump that on them in the very, very first session, it's overload, it's overwhelm, and it's gonna get them to pull back. They're confused, and they don't think they can do it. It's too much information too quickly. All right. And finally, your step number 4 is you want to teach the steps, right? Teach the 4 steps. You want to teach the 4 steps to your team, to your partners. You want to teach them to teach the 4 steps so that, again, any country, any language, any culture, anywhere in the world, we can all follow this simple 4-step getting started process. It's easy, it's simple. That's how you do it. So my challenge, okay, for you, and I'm going to have a personal challenge for you today, and I'm also going to have a team challenge for you and your team. Now, some of you on this call are just getting started and you don't have a team yet, okay? And others, and I can see you're on this call, have massive, teams, and others have teams that are kind of somewhere in between, where you're starting to roll, you're starting to rank advance. It's exciting, right? But your challenge for week number 7, which is this week, is really to identify, and you want to write this down, identify at least 5 people, for example. I think I'll be speaking to the majority of you if I can say, in the next week, identify at least 5 people who have already shown interest. They've already said, hey, that's interesting, but they never moved forward, right? These are the people. You want them all. You don't want to let any of them slip through the cracks. You've done all the work and they say, that's interesting. They didn't say no. They just said, that's interesting, and they step back, right? You want to identify 5 of these people this week who have shown the interest. They've watched a video. Maybe they've joined a live Zoom. They've maybe asked a few questions. And what you want to do is you want to reconnect with each and every one of them and ask, for a clear decision. You want to ask via questions for their clear decision, if that makes sense, right? And the questions, I've already gone through what those questions are that are not offensive. They're easy to remember. They're easy to memorize. They're easy to repeat over and over again. The questions don't change. It's the same thing. And what you want to do is you want to help at least this week coming up, 1 new customer get started and 1 brand new partner get started of the 5. So if you reach out to the 5, we want 2 minimum. Some of you are going to get 5 out of 5 with this simple process. If you've taken notes, you start practicing these questions, you'll get 5 out of 5. But 5 out of 2 is pretty well average, right? You talk to 5, you get 2. Again, these numbers are amazing. I was in the process of building a business on personal development, personal growth. And I'm excited about personal growth and personal development. It's made a big difference in my life. But when I went out to talk to people, you know what I found out is that out of 100, there's really only 3 that even care about personal growth and personal development. So I had to talk to 100 to get 3. Here, we talk to 5, we get 2. Talk to 5, we get 2. Talk to 5, we get 2, which is pretty good. I don't know about you, but you want to use the tools. And what are the tools right now? You got to know this by heart by now. It's the live Zooms. It's the YouTube replays. And you want to use these tools as a part of their decision process, right? You want to use these tools as a part. So you also want to bring, you also, and your whole focus and the whole topic here tonight again, or today, or this morning, or this afternoon, this evening, wherever you're calling in from, is really to get that prospect or that partner from that interested, hey, this sounds interesting, to the action, And so that's what we're doing. And this week really is about movement. Now we're moving forward. All right. Now that's for you. Okay. For this week, I hope this makes sense and it's not too complicated. And most people say I could do that. Now, if you do not have 5 people that have not made a decision, then what we want you to do is reach out to 5 people this week and take them through these questions. And again, follow the system that we're talking about right here. And this week, right, what we want you to do now I want to shift the focus on, as a leader, as an Aurum partner, as a leader, as a person that's developing their own AI finance community. I want you to teach your partners. Some of them, not all of them, are on this call, right? Maybe they're going to watch the replay later, but I want you to reach out to your partners and I want you to teach your partners the concept of, we talked about look, like, decide. That's the process, right? I'll repeat that. If you haven't written this down, we want the concept is we want them to take a look. We want to see what they like about it. And then we want them to decide whether they want to become a partner, they want to become a customer, or neither. And that's okay. Again, I would rather have someone say, it's not for me, right now, this is not for me, great. Then rather than saying maybe, let me think about it, call me back in a week, and then it's still a maybe and a maybe, just decide, right? So the simple decision questions, and the idea that, indecision, when someone does that, and you've all been through this, right? It really kills momentum. When you've done all the work, when you've done the things properly, you've taken the steps, and there's no decision, it kills your momentum. It hurts your momentum. It interferes with your momentum. So what you want to do is you want to have your partners write down key questions. Okay, choose who they're going to talk to this week. Right? So they have these questions, these simple questions like, hey, what did you like the most? Remember that question? What did you like the most? Yeah. Can you see an opportunity here? Oh, you can see an opportunity. Great. Would you like to get started either as a customer or you'd like to get started as a partner? These are the questions you want to be teaching them, of course. And you want to commit to helping at least one person make a clear decision. So when a whole team, this is important for those that are growing your communities, when your whole team really learns, when they start to learn how to guide decisions, your business is going to build much, much, much faster than it already is. It's going to build much, much, much smoother than it already is right now. And remember, again, we're giving a lot of information, simplifying, but there's a lot of information on these calls. And I want to remind you that this call, although we're live right now, we replay the call on our on the YouTube channel. So you can always guide them to watch the replay. Go back and watch the replay. Where do you get it? You get the replay on the YouTube channel. It's a whole playlist for mastery, and you just go to @Aurum_foundation, put that into YouTube. Boom, you'll pop into there and look for the playlist. And also, if you for the introduction, again, I can't state this enough. For the introduction live Zooms, what you want to do is you want to go to the corporate Telegram, because they're listing all of the introductions, and there's introductions every single day. And don't forget to ask your sponsor, for example, who sponsored you, who sponsored you, who sponsored you, and you keep on going up. You're going to find a leader that's doing presentations more and more. Some are doing, we have people doing 3 presentations a week, but they're doing it in 3 different languages. We have others that are doing presentations every single day, right? We have others that are doing a presentation a week, right? So there's also leaders that are doing their own presentations outside of the corporate presentations. So again, you can get the replays as well. So the simple steps, again, I'll give you the framework on how all this works. It's so simple, and I'm repeating it. Some people say, Shane, why do you keep on repeating over and over? Because sooner or later, if we repeat it enough, that like I said, I was on a call on the weekend and I heard one of the leaders speaking in a way. I said, I thought I was listening to myself, because they were going through exactly the right steps, and they were teaching and training their organization on what to do, and they were following the simple steps. So here are the steps. They watch you do that short 60 to 90 second overview, for example, that introduction. Remember the one that we talked about last week? 60 to 90 seconds. That's your role. Your short introduction never changes. That's the way it works. And then what you want to do is go to a live Zoom or go to a replay, and then you follow up with a decision conversation. That's it. And that pattern that I just outlined keeps everything simple. It keeps everything duplicatable. Once you get this, someone could wake you up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and you know the system. You know exactly where you are. What's the next step? What do we do? How does it work? Have you done this step? You haven't done this step. Let's back up and get you to this step, right? And so, all right. So hope that gives you a little bit of information on what you need to do for this week, what you want to focus on for this week, and also what you want to focus on as you build your organization, as you build your team, what you're going to be teaching them, what you're going to be sharing with them this week. And so, but next week, what are we going to be doing next week? We're going to be focusing on expanding your network, not only locally, but we're going to be focusing on what about those that want to now take it from local to global? How does that work, right? Well, if you haven't figured out local, it's not going to be very fun doing global. But if you figured out your local, method of operation, your weekly method of operation globally is a cinch. It's easy, it's simple, it's not complicated. We're going to talk about this next week. We're going to talk about how to go beyond, this is important, right? Your first circle of influence, right? Because when you get started, you're excited and you talk to your friends and people that you know. But once you want to go beyond that circle of influence, how do we do this? Right? How do we use technology? How do we use the community to reach new markets? Right? We're going to be talking about this next week. It's going to be more of an expansion. This is a movement kind of talk where we're going to get our partners moving forward. But next week, we're really going to be shifting into an expansive kind of look on how to grow and how to create your own global vision. And how does Aurum's global vision even fit into your daily actions? Right? What is the vision again? It's to create 1,000 new millionaires who are not millionaires right now. All right. I love that vision. So come back ready next week. Bring your, your stories of what happened this week. Have them ready. Bring your questions. Of course, you're going to have questions as you go through the process. Get a workout partner, somebody that you can bounce these ideas back and forth. Right. And this will help you along the way as you start to tweak your own system, as you start to tweak this whole ecosystem on how we're building this. It'll start to make more and more and more sense. And don't forget, I always love to say, bring your enthusiasm. Nothing great in life will ever happen without enthusiasm. If you don't have enthusiasm, I was on a call, by the way, over the weekend, and it was a Zoom call, and some people had their cameras on. And I'm not kidding, but there were people like that and you could see them in the camera, right? You could see them on the Zoom, and they were like this, right? They were sitting like this. I'm going, that's not going to work. You can't show up with this type of enthusiasm. That's just not going to work. And for some that are struggling and they're wondering why, it's because the person that you're talking to can feel you're not enthusiastic. I don't even know if you believe in the project. It doesn't feel good, and there's that. So again, week 8 is going to help you think, and it's going to help you build even bigger, better, faster, stronger. So let me conclude with this, right? Interest is really good. There's no question that we get a lot of people that look at it. Of course, they're interested. It's really good. But action, getting them to take the next step, even the simple step as registering for free, start off with a little test, right? This is even better, right? Your role as a leader in Aurum is really to introduce, right? Not just to introduce, but make it clear what you're talking about. Make it clear. Don't confuse. Don't get too techie on them. And then you want to follow up, respectfully follow up, and you want to help people make decisions that make sense for them, not for you, right? These decisions that they're making the decision for them, not for you. And so what's the next step, right? That's the question that you want to be asking yourself. What is the next step? What is the next step? So you look at your prospects, you look at the customers. These are people that have not registered yet. And you got to go through each one of them and say, what's the next step for this person? What's the next step for this person? What's the next? And once you get in that habit, it's just an amazing, amazing system. And imagine if your team is moving in the same direction. Can you see how this will build out your community bigger, better, faster, stronger? And so when you do that, what you're really doing is you're building even more trust. You're building, I don't want to call it momentum, but it's forward movement, right? It's you're moving things forward by doing this. And you're building, by the way, a real business that will sustain and that will last the test of time. So again, this week, ask clear questions, invite clear decisions, and support. Be sure to support them when they take action and they move forward. Support them in terms of just showing them what to do. I can't stress enough that although it's exciting, if you just give them the link and don't show them how to get started or what the simple basics are, the chances of them getting started, you probably notice they're not going to. Very rare. There are some basically that'll go in and they're so excited they'll figure it out. With or without you, they're going to go and figure it out, and they're going to start moving with or without you. But for the majority, for the most part, they need that assurance. They need that guide just to show them where the buttons are. You show them one time. It is that simple. So thank you for being here. Thank you for helping everyone move, from interest to action. This is our topic, and I'll see you in week number 8 next week. And this is the 90-day mastery series, by the way. So we'll see you right here next week on Mastery. So have a great week and let's go. A great week.